So thanks again for coming today. So my name is Heather Currie-Martinez. I'm the editor and owner of Maverick Gamers. A lot of people know me as Maverick. Thanks for coming. My pronouns are she and her, and I'll let the rest of the panel introduce themselves.
Hi, I am Jess Harris-Distefano, which is a mouthful, so I'm Jess HD. When I'm not talking about representation, I actually talk about representation at work. So I oversee creators and diversity programming for YouTube Spaces.
Your pronouns?
My pronouns are she and her, but I actually don't mind being served.
I'm Shelbie Cohen. I'm a board director for LGBT Fans Deserve Better, so the support positive rep shirts that you see everywhere. And there you're wearing one. You're wearing one. You're wearing one. There's like four right here in the front row. In my day job, I do cybersecurity. Pronouns: she, her, they, them. I don't mind being sir either, just so long as you're respectful is pretty much my only rule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the second year that Jess and I are doing this panel, and Shelbie, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
You did it with us in London.
Yeah, I did it in London.
You did it in London.
Yeah,
That's
I did
right.
in
Yeah, I
London.
was not in London, so.
I'm the
But
common denominator.
you are the Jess panel.
No.
So if any of you have never been to a panel that I've done before, that Jess has done before, and Shelbie, I haven't really been to any but one of your panels, so I can't speak for you. But we are very interactive, no matter how big or small of a group that we have. We're not going to sit up here and talk at you for an hour because that's boring as fuck. So, and we curse a lot. I curse a lot. I can't speak for the two of them, but yeah, I have a little bit of a potty mouth.
I totally do. Wait till you see the shirt I have tomorrow. There's a
really?
queer moms panel, by the way.
That we're on, yeah.
Awesome. We have snacks, and I have an awesome shirt that actually.
And we're not kidding.
Wearing, yeah.
It's a whole panel of moms with nothing but snacks
Yes.
and Capri Sun. So if you're hungry at 11:15 tomorrow morning, back here in this room, there will be a table full of food. Yes.
There will be food.
We will take care of you. There might even be tissue. Okay.
I'm
Anyway.
ex-Navy and I curse like a sailor, so
See, there you go.
I'm
All
right there with you.
So, we are very big on audience participation because I can't even get my wife to sit and listen to me for an hour, let alone anybody else. So, we really want to hear from you guys. So, what I did was I took a look at the shows over the last year that had butch representation or non-binary representation. Some of them did it great. Some of them did not do it great. And we also wanted to talk about, what are you guys watching? Are you aware of these shows? Do you know these shows exist? The second half of the panel, we kind of want to switch gears a little bit because I think that we see a lot of coming out stories now. Whether you're gay, bi, trans, you see these coming out stories, but I don't think you see a lot of stories about understanding who you are and becoming who you are. I feel like even at my age, I'm still becoming. Michelle Obama, I love you, becoming. But I think that you're always in that constant state, but you don't really see that. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's actually a topic that we were all chatting about and something that comes up in various forums down to, and again, I love coming out stories, but I'm just tired of it. We're always coming out, but coming out was like a first of a multiple step for all of us to become comfortable with our own identity. And I can see a lot of head nods in the room, and it's everything from what you wear, how you wear your hair, how you present yourself in the world, and none of that is represented right now. So we would love to have an open conversation with you guys of like what that means, what those stories are, and what we can do to help facilitate those stories and get those stories out into the world, because I think they're really important to share. And they affect our day-to-day, and it is hard to be who you are and how you want to present yourself in the world.
And it's important to have the discussion because we all understand representation matters, but we're all content creators in some form or another. We hope that a lot of you that are in the audience are, and these are the kind of stories that I think we need to tell, that we need to see that we don't. So that's kind of what we focus on what have we seen that's great, what have we seen that really sucks, which unfortunately there's a lot of that, and what do we want to see, because I think that we're the people who are going to change that kind of stuff. So, any feedback you guys have, we love it. There's a mic up here, but it's a small enough group if you want to holler, you want to yell, interpretive dance, whatever is best for you.
I like sock puppets.
Sock puppets, okay, all right. But so, some shows, if anybody is interested, so I'm not going to rattle off the whole list, but if you are interested, I have a list of about 21 shows that over the past year that did feature, like I said, characters. If you guys want to snapshot it later.
Yeah, just
Okay, right?
I will read the list.
I was surprised when she
now,
sent it to me.
so yeah, on the list, so I have to credit Autostraddle because I looked at a lot of stuff, everything that I kept looking at, Autostraddle had already done a lot of the work. So I do actually have the link to the articles that I looked at as well as some other stuff. So if you guys are interested, like I said, I'm happy to have you snapshot it.
I'm gonna stop you for a second. If you don't support Autostraddle, please, please, please,
Yes.
please support online queer media.
Yes.
Yes, it's easy to read an article, but it's not done for free. It's done with blood, sweat, and tears of our community.
Right.
So even $1 goes a long way.
Yeah. So this is the only time I'm going to talk at you because you guys want to hear the list. So now when I say 21, so there's probably more like 18, but there's multiple actors who have appeared in other shows as well, which I did actually think was good to have on here so you guys might see a name that you recognize. So the first one that I saw was 911 on Fox. So we have representation of the character Hend, if you guys have seen the show. Fantastic, by Aisha Hinds, who's the actress for that. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, oh my God, Alex Borstein is fucking awesome in that role, which I think is fantastic. Billions, Asia Kate Dillon.
Yeah.
Have you guys watched this show?
They're amazing.
Non-binary actor, non-binary character.
Yeah, they are absolutely amazing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, that would be something I would definitely take a look at. A TV show that I didn't think handled any LGBT representation well at all was the Purge TV series, but they had 2 gay or LGBT storylines. So
They also had a Bury Your Gay.
I'm sorry?
They also had a Bury Your Gay, though.
Yes, they did. That's what I'm going to bring up.
So
Braca, did anybody watch the Purge TV series? Okay, they actually had, who was kind of like a hitman, if you will, who went out on Purge night, and the premise, if you haven't seen it, is that you have one night to kill whoever you want, you get no consequences. And so people could hire people to go out and kill other people, and they actually happened to be a person you could hire, and was
not a good concept for
no.
a TV show. Wasn't a good concept for a movie.
No, and a Bury Your Gays. So
Yeah, 4 movies, but who's
Braca did
counting?
not last long. Yeah, All American. So if you guys watch the TV show All American, Coop, who's on there, which is fantastic. Camping, which is HBO series.
Jennifer Gardner.
Actually, Bridget Everett as Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really good. And I'm sure you guys all know Cameron Esposito. So from Take My Wife and now on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That was awesome. I'm going to stop for a second. Time out. That was amazing because it was 2 women that I would argue fall on the more masculine side of things. And
For Steph Beat's character,
and we
yeah.
never get to see that, where it's like it's always hyper feminine and hyper masculine, and that's easy for everybody to digest. And God forbid that there's anything else in the spectrum that might be attracted to each other. So I was like really
Yeah, I was very excited about
Just
that.
random fun fact, we went to see Cameron Esposito stand up like a month and a half ago, and we learned that we are renaming strap-ons to step-ins, according to Cameron Esposito.
Oh my God, that is actually really good.
Depending on the night, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
I would say trip over, but that's also too. Fall flat on your face and then try to be sexy, but yeah.
Moving along.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like that.
So the next one would be Claus. So there's a character on Claus called Quiet Anne. Harlots. I don't know. My wife loves this show. I've never watched the show. But there's a character on there called Nancy, which is a very butch, presenting character. But she's also a prostitute. So
That's fascinating.
I'm sorry? Oh, BDSM Mistress. Thank you very much. Yes.
Wow.
And that's where my knowledge of the show is very limited. So thank you for adding on. Ray Donovan. Obviously, everybody knows Kate Manning from The L Word. So she was also on Ray Donovan as well. And then we have who I know is one of your favorites.
Lena Waithe.
So, do you guys know who Lena Waithe is? Yeah. All right.
Oh my God! Please, everybody in the room, nod their
Yeah.
head like furiously if
Yeah.
you don't know who she is.
And if you're not watching Boomerang, oh my God.
So it was just announced today that she's actually going to be writing on Westworld.
Yep.
And I can attest for a fact because I've actually met her in person now twice. She is the nicest human being on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Can I tell a quick fun
Yes.
story?
Yes.
So I had the honor and privilege to actually go to the movie premiere of Ready Player One. And I went to the after party, and the only person I want to meet, and I really don't fangirl out, but I wanted to meet her. And I had a really awesome friend that had a bunch of cocktails into her, and she just grabbed me by the back of the neck and like pulled me over to meet her. Really awkward. And
Did you do one of these?
no, I am pretty good. I actually can compose myself when I need to. And I just said, big fan of your work. And I just said, I want to thank you for being you in public and like what the representation means. And she just looked back at me and she said, no, actually I want to thank you because you're standing here as well. And gave me a huge hug. And now I'm tear up. Because to me, it was like, we don't get to see that representation. We don't get to see someone that not only is in front of the camera, but behind the camera, and that is pushing the ball forward for the rest of us to be our authentic selves. So that is why I have such a big crush on her. So if you're not a fan, you should be a fan. She's everything that she puts out there, it's very real.
Yeah, she's amazing. All right, so we got a couple more on the list. So we also have, if anybody watched The Deuce, I actually didn't catch this show. There's a character, Irene, by Roberta Colindrez. Handmaid's Tale, so everybody knows Samira Wiley.
Is amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Another Barrier Days, unfortunately, for
I
Orange is the New
know,
Black.
but
she's amazing on Handmaid's Tale as well.
Yeah.
We've also got, obviously, Sarah Ramirez, Kat Sandoval, Madam Secretary.
Can we talk about how hot she is? Sorry.
Can we also?
Yes.
Wait. Can we also talk about
Sorry,
year one ClexaCon?
Yeah. I know. She
Were you
came
guys
by to
here?
buy a
She
restaurant,
literally
yeah.
just kind of roamed into ClexaCon as
She
a.
sat a row away from me.
She
and
literally
she
just
ripped.
bought a badge and showed up. Like she didn't tell anybody
She
she was
took a
coming.
red eye.
She wasn't a guest. Like she just showed up.
I know.
I was standing there and I look over and I was one of the ladies like, wait a second. She's standing there like looking through a program trying to decide which panel she was going to go to, and I was like, what is happening?
You're like, here, I'll show you personally.
Yes, let me escort you.
Love her character on that show because I also again feel like we don't get to see anyone that identifies as a masculine female looking dapper and in that kind of professional setting.
In a positive.
Also, the fact that she's
manner.
bi is a really, really big deal
I love that
because
she's bi. I
because
think
it
it's
says
awesome.
I'm always people are gonna look at me or us as masculine presenting and be like, oh well, you have to be like all the way on the Kinsey scale gay, right? But that's not necessarily always the case. Like just because I'm masculine presenting doesn't mean I'm any more or less any sexuality. So I think that that's a really important thing too.
No, I think actually I would rank her as one of the best representations we currently have on TV.
Absolutely. And the other
Sarah Ramirez,
Oh yeah.
High femme from Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't that high femme.
She was pretty.
She had long hair and like I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying.
That's high femme, babe.
But I love that she's embraced more of who she is and like.
And I feel like that comes through in the character.
Well, it comes through in the character, but actually, a lot of interviews she has stated that she actually put a lot of that into the character. And that's what we need to start seeing is people being like, this is who I am, and this is who I'm going to play.
Right. So the last three that I've got on the list, we've got a TV show counterpart. We're a character named Baldwin. Vita, who obviously that show.
Please support Vita. It is amazing, wonderful.
Amazing
And
butch
Latinx representation too.
Eddie Martinez. And then obviously Orange is the New Black, Daddy Duarte. So, which was a new character that they introduced last year. So that was the list that between going to Autostraddle and going online that I was able to find. So good, bad, all of it. What was left off? What have you guys watched? What have you seen? What do you love?
NCIS New Orleans.
NCIS New Orleans. Okay. Who's the character on that?
Giorgio. She's one of the NCIS.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Very cool.
They make no bones about it. She probably acts as bi as anything, but there have been some pretty heavy.
Nice. Big fans, I see. That's awesome. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you. What other shows are you guys watching that you're seeing that we haven't mentioned, or shows we've mentioned that you really have strong feelings about?
I don't know if this counts, it hasn't come out yet, but they're doing a Deadwood movie, and Calamity Jane's going to be the guy.
I know we're going to hear a lot of the C word when that comes out. That was like one of her favorite words on the show. So I hope they delve into that character a lot more because, she was...
She's in the teaser trailer.
Was she? Okay, I haven't seen that.
Shooting it. I was like, oh, she actually...
Who?
Both like pulled it and shot someone as opposed to just...
Tig Notario.
Cool. Yeah, it looks
Awesome.
like a storyline. And Johnny Stubbs is going to be there too. It looked like...
Awesome. That was very cool. Yeah, stuff upcoming too, yes.
An international one, The Rich Man's Daughter.
Oh, I don't know that.
It's a Filipino show, and one of the, secondary characters Lachi, I think her name is. And I thought it was really interesting that her daughter calls her daddy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we talked about
Yes,
this in London.
because I have a stepson now, and we've been trying to figure out like what he should call me, and he called me mommy, which seemed slightly strange, and so we had a discussion about like, and I was like, well, you can call me dad if you'd like, and he was like, why would I do that? Like,
Right.
so it was a very interesting, confusing. Like,
So-
I mean, it was a good conversation for him. It was more, I think,
Have you
confusing
guys
for me.
decided on it yet?
He variables. He either sometimes randomly calls me mommy, or he calls me Shelbie.
See, I'm mommy and my wife is mama. So my wife is Puerto Rican, and so she wanted to have like the Latinx, mama, because she's also teaching her Spanish, and I'm like, I'm totally fine with mommy.
I think
So
I'd really rather be dad. I feel much more
Really?
comfortable with being.
Okay.
I feel like I would be a good dad. Like
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm actually mama.
And your mama with
I'm
Carly?
mama, but we actually had a really long conversation with it, and I have a bunch of masculine identifying friends that have kids, and 2 of them are actually baba. Like they picked something else, and like, which again, another great conversation that
Yep.
never is shown in any media whatsoever is what are you called? Because I get strange looks when or we're out somewhere and she turns around and calls me mama.
Well, I'm trying to think. Any of those characters that I rattled off, do you know if they have kids? I can't think of one of
No.
them that has a kid.
I think the one that Sarah Ramirez plays has a kid.
Oh yeah,
Does
she
she? Oh,
mentioned
yeah,
it.
okay.
She mentioned that she has a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't.
But
It's like
really,
offspring.
out of like literally 20 characters, not one of them really.
Well, we plan to touch it, but come tomorrow. That's a great conversation topic.
But I think that's the kind of stuff where it kind of just scratches the surface. Now, when we had this panel last year, we didn't have that list to rattle off. What we rattled off was all the
what we
really
know.
negative stuff that we saw. We're all negative. It was a lot of negative butch characters. I think the only positive
All
influence.
prisoners?
I'm
All
sorry?
prisoners,
All
jail-
prisoners?
or prison guards.
Yeah,
my
or prison
favorite,
guards.
or truck drivers, or gym teachers.
But
Professions
really,
I've never ever thought in my lifetime. I'd be like, yes,
But
that's what I want to
really,
be.
we talked about the Kat Sandoval character. We
Yeah.
talked about Lena Waithe. We talked about Cameron Esposito. There were so few that were positive that we talked about. I'm so happy this year that we have that list. That there's so much more representation. So
getting there.
even though it's not perfect, this is why representation matters so much. It's like the more you talk about it, the more that you create it, that we create, and we get out there. I think that it's going to be normalized for everybody else.
Well, we
where
talked-
it's normalized for us now.
So internally, I give talks on the Invisibility Factor.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know what that is? No? Okay. So if you don't see yourself in media
Mm-hmm.
growing up, you will think you're invisible. And
There's a psychological term for it.
Yes.
Actually, I can't remember what it is.
well,
right.
yeah. So it's like it's this concept that if you don't see yourself projected,
Then you're
or
not a valid
portrayed,
human
you're not a
being.
valid human being.
Yeah.
And that your identity, and I think a lot of us probably have struggled with this, is like you're not seeing yourself portrayed in any media, any narratives, any stories of how you feel you should look or how you should present yourself in the world or how you feel comfortable in your own skin. So therefore, your vision of yourself shouldn't exist. And what happens, and it's a great segue into the stories that we're not seeing, is that I think a lot of us push ourselves into boxes and into roles that we're supposed to play. So looking around the room, how many people growing up did a whole like hyper feminine, I must carry a purse, I must wear a dress, I must date a boy, I must try to fit in. I love seeing the head nods of like, okay, so myself included. So for 6 years in high school, and I wish we were talking about this. I should have brought up a fucking slideshow.
we should have done the
I'd blow
pictures. We
people's
did talk about
minds. So I
I have a
looked
picture of me super girly. I can show everybody if you want to see something.
I will put on Twitter later. I will totally do it. I do too. Like I homecoming dress and all, like hair done.
However,
like,
I have to say that the only reason I did it was because I was told by my job at the time that if I didn't wear a dress, I wasn't allowed to go to the corporate Christmas party.
What?
So yeah.
that's
So,
not surprising.
This was before I cut my hair off and did all of those things, and I was terrified to do it, and that's one of the reasons. But
Yeah.
so I wore my hair down and wore makeup and wore a dress so that I could go to the corporate Christmas party. Yeah.
So I mean, for me,
I was like 7 years ago, so it's not long enough. There was, yeah.
But I love that you touched upon that, because it's like I actually hear those stories a lot, and I have good friends that this happened to about weddings. So great example. I love it.
Story.
And again, never have seen this story portrayed, and I'm like, oh my God, this story happens all the time. I see it everywhere, and we're not even talking about it is, what do you do when your straight sister, myself included, gets married and she has this mental image of her bridesmaids, and then she has, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna use the term, the big dyke. Like,
Oh no, I got disinvited from being a bridesmaid. I was asked, and then I told her that I would prefer not to wear a dress because I was concerned that I would look very funny in it, and then she disinvited me from being a bridesmaid.
I wasn't in the photos, so
I can
was
one
the
up
honor.
you. I in college had long girly hair and was very, very femmy, and but you know, you like women as you do. And one of my best friends from college decided to get married, and I decided I don't want my long hair anymore because this isn't who I am. I was trying to figure out my own identity, and at that point in time, it was cutting my hair off and trying different things. I cut my hair off, and I swear to God, not 2 hours later, I get a call. Hey, I'm getting married, and I want you to be a bridesmaid. And I was like, okay, when's the wedding? And she's like, well, I'm also pregnant, so we're gonna do it in like 60 days. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I have a funny story to tell you. and of course I explained that I had just cut all my hair off and this and that. And long story short, there are pictures of me in a god-awful green bridesmaid dress with a very, very short haircut. It probably mirrors something like this because we all stick with the same haircut for 20 years. And, you know, in all the bridal photos, and as hard as I've heard that story for other people in that situation where you're disinvited or not in the photos, I gotta say that her family was amazing and wanted to make sure that I felt welcome and this and that. Her brother, who is also gay, we joked and we actually went down the aisle together. He's like, I should be wearing the dress, you should wear it in the tux, this is bullshit. You know? And I think that's how that should have gone too.
But here's the thing, and this is again like narratives that I would love to see, and I think I'm not alone, is it's like, I always joke that like if someone was trying to put me in a dress, I'd look like a dude in drag. Like
Maybe we should just write comedies for our characters. Like as much as like sometimes being played to the comedy is kind of terrible on the trope side, but on the flip side though, these are hilarious stories, right? So,
well, but my best friend looked like a dude in drag, and is like super girly, like, and she is super butch, and like has major tattoos, and like I was like, oh my god, like. And I keep thinking in my head, her straight sister had this like mental image of this beautiful picture and everything, and I'm like, that just made it look 1,000 times worse. It would have looked better if she wore her own outfit, right? You now have made it like that mantle picture is going to go somewhere in their house, and everybody's going to be like, oh my god, do I say something, do I not say something? Oh my god, that's so funny. And I've actually been in their house, by the way, in Long Island, and one of my other friends who didn't know that this had occurred, like walked by and like did a double take and totally pulled out her phone. Because it was such like a, oh my god. And I always go back to, why does it matter? Like, you should make sure that people feel comfortable in their own skin and present themselves their own way. You know?
It goes back to, we have all of these stories. You guys have all of these stories.
Right?
I mean, these are the stories we need to see on TV, not just that sidekick who happens to be butch. I'm glad that there's that sidekick on TV now. Yes, please, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't have my glasses on, so let me put them back on so I can.
So I just wanted to share, I was actually watching, my fiance is real big on reality TV. I just didn't share with it. But there was one episode, it was like almost like Say Yes to the Dress, but it was like bridesmaids version.
Uh-huh.
And so the bride was like, hey, I want you to wear a dress. And it was very clearly a butch person. And they're like, I don't feel comfortable. And
Right.
like, the bride went through this whole thing, but in the end, they got a custom suit for
That's awesome.
Oh, that's
the
awesome.
bridesmaid out of the same dress. So I just wanted to share.
Yeah, when
That's
my,
fantastic.
When my stepmom got remarried, she called me up and she invited me to be bridesmaid, and she legitimately was like, can you take your measurements? Here's the suit that you're gonna wear. This is what like, and that's just what it was. There was no question about it. Like it was perfectly fine. And I just wore what the groomsmen wore, which worked out because I got the bridesmaids gifts and the groomsmen's gifts. So like,
that's why telling these stories are important, and then why we need to see them on TV, because what happens then is that it's the invisibility effect. So you have a bunch of kids growing up right now that need to see these stories, because then they don't go through the pain and the heartache or like the long journey process that all of us have gone through of like, I love that you touched on cutting your hair. How many people struggled with that? Just show of hands, how many people? Right? Okay, I love this because it's like, it's such also an identifier of like, I looked the way I did when I was like 10 years old, and then I had like was told by society that like, yeah, you can't be that tomboy anymore and you have to look and act a certain way, and it took such a long time to be like, yeah, no, I want to look the way I did when I was 10. But cutting my hair was a big ordeal about it.
But then on the flip side, and I love this, and I wish she was here this year. I looked, and she's not. But there was a woman who came to the panel last year who had long hair.
Yes, I remember her.
And
awesome.
she was like, I have this shame or sense of not belonging because I don't
Butch
have
with
short
long
hair, and I feel butch, but I don't feel like I belong in that label because my hair isn't
Which
as
is
short as
fascinating
yours.
too.
But Shane kind of gave, like, I mean, his L Word was a terrible rep for a lot of reasons, but Shane was a very, I think, butch character that had longer hair that was pretty good rep in that regard.
She was the butchiest.
Yeah. Well, she was. Well, that's why when you had that
Yeah.
list of butch, I'm like, how are we defining this butch representation?
Well, but then I go back to it's the stories that we don't see. So
Yeah.
here's another great question for the crowd. Clothing. Who buys clothing in the men's section? Okay.
Who had absolute panic attacks about wearing men's like shorts or pants for the first time?
I mean, like, it is a big fucking deal. The first time you're like, oh, dear God, here we go. Like, I'm going to go in and everybody knows this is awkward and but I want to buy everything in this store and, like, I don't know my sizes. Are they going to let me in the dressing room? Like, where are those stories? Because we all go through that, and it is funny,
It's,
and
it's an anxiety
you
about
get an
it.
anxiety attack, and it's like, okay, like, and do they know that I'm not shopping for a significant other? Like, yes, of course they do, but like, you're like, do I play it off
But
that
so here's
way?
the flip side of that. Who buys stuff online so you don't have to go through that?
I do sometimes.
I mean, so do I, so it's that type of stuff that you really want to see.
Well, so another one, who wears Tomboy X? Love the hands. If you're not, I love the clothing line. It is queer positive, support queer clothing makers.
Shopping
it's
in regular
comfortable.
stores though listen. We went to Men's Warehouse to buy stuff for ClexaCon, and the little guy who stopped to help us. He was trying so hard, but he was so nervous, like palpably nervous about all of the things, and he was like, okay, how can I help you? Like, what is it that you're looking for? Like, he was so he was trying so hard, and he was absolutely
hit me
sweet
if I
about
say
it.
the wrong
and
thing.
then he, at first he was, and then he calmed down a little bit as he realized we were chill. And then I got the obligatory, well, I have a gay friend, which is really, really sweet.
It's either friend or family member. That's like, I always play the like 50-50 in my head.
My sister's a lesbian. Do you know her?
Right. Yeah. I actually saw this really amazing TED Talk. If you look out like TED Talk coming out, I'm sure. If you Google like TED Talk coming out, I'm sure you'll see it. And I cannot for the life of me remember her name. Very butch woman doing it, and she said this thing about. Oh man, I'm gonna forget it now. She was like little girls misgendering her or something like that, and like getting all angry about it, and realizing instead that it's just better to be like, no, dude, it's totally cool. And the same thing happens like with the one gay friend, right? You can choose to be upset about that, and you can choose to get angry about it, or you can choose to just be like, you know what, this person's really trying to show me that they're accepting me, and they don't quite know how to do that, but at least they're trying.
Yeah.
So instead of being, a lot of people get up in arms and really angry about it, and I think for our community, the more that we can go, when people misgender us, instead of getting mad and yelling or being grumpy at people, being like, hey, actually, I identify as she, her, but it's cool, it's no big deal. I think that, or having a conversation.
It's education
I think
and normalization.
Right, but it's the people get mad instead of people saying, you know what, that person's trying, they're just not educated, so let me talk to them
No,
instead of
and
getting
those
mad.
are very good points. So, you had your hand?
Set foot in a men's warehouse for the first time, like within the past year. Walnut Creek, California.
I live in Belmont. We're near each other.
I went with a friend to support them in some clothes. And the person that stepped up to us and helped us was a handsome butch woman.
So you shop there every day now, yeah?
Whenever my friend wants to go, I'm like,
Oh look, I feel really proud that I'm wearing a Men's Warehouse vest right now.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for just reflecting on how we support each other too in those spaces.
Yes.
Just because sometimes people aren't well intentioned. I went
Absolutely.
contra dancing with my partner, and I was dressed, in like the straight jeans
Mhm.
and the button down and looked very masculine. And the instructor who was teaching us the moves was very uncomfortable. He was like, "Oh, you don't have a penis, so he didn't say that. You don't have a penis, so you shouldn't learn the men's part." And
Did he actually say that? Did he say that to you?
not just super queer too. Yeah, that's the weird part.
Oh my God, that's why I was like,
He
oh.
was very-
You can see it though, probably.
Yeah.
And two men got up and ran over and they were holding hands. They're like, we want to learn too. Partners, and one of them was going to dance, the women's part, one of them was going to dance, the men's part. And it was just really incredible to watch like this whole community
Support.
and like stop this guy from being an asshole.
Well, and you bring up a very good point, because the reason that I got that list together and read it for the good and bad representation is, even if it's bad, you have to support it because it gets it out there. We have to support that content or we're not going to see it. So, and support your community. If you see somebody getting bashed and you feel like you're in a comfortable space to help and step in, or just offer that, hey, I'm here, I support you, and you feel comfortable with that and safe with that, do that. I think that's
Also,
a great point.
if you live in a bigger city, check your city, because, so I live in St. Pete, Florida, and we actually have safe space. It's a St. Pete safe space, and a lot of the most of the companies in St. Pete, they put a safe space sticker on their window, so you know that if you're feeling any type of like bullied and you just need to step in somewhere, all over downtown there's the safe space stickers, and you know that you can walk into any business and they'll make sure that the person can't come in, and they'll call the cops for you and they'll talk to you. So check your city and see if it has it, and maybe if it doesn't, maybe you can help start something that, and show St. Pete is a really positive. Actually, the new listing came out. St. Pete's now listed as the second city to spend pride in the United States. I found out yesterday. But use that as a resource. Look at this city who's having this really positive response to this. Maybe, talk to your city council people and stuff. And
it's not only about feeling safe, or it's not only about having a place to go, it's about understanding that if you go to those businesses, that you're not going to be looked at differently.
yeah, that's true too. Absolutely. It's a safe space.
I walked into the tie bar a couple weeks ago and I said, okay, I got this tie and it's this color and it was from them. Like, but I don't have a good pocket square. And they're like, oh, and two young guys. And like, okay, well, what do you plan to wear it with? And I said, well, and then they showed me, and I'm like, that's too big. All the women's jackets, the breast pockets are too small. And he's like, okay, well, let's see what else we've got. Didn't bat an eye. It was so lovely. And I was saying something about how soft the ties are. He's like, I know, I love these ties. And as far as I could tell, now I'm not great, but usually the gay guys you can tell straight. He was just lovely and helped me.
But those are so amazing stories to hear, that like when I see that occur, like to me it makes my day. And it's like we talk about normalization, like that should just be the normalization. And the more that we get these stories out there of like why these situations are awkward, because I think majority of the world doesn't understand why these are awkward. My mother, for example, does not understand why any
That's
and
a
I love
whole
everybody's
other panel.
eyeballs and head nods and everything like that. My mom's like, well, why can't you just shop in the women's section? And right, I love the size around the room, and it's like, or why are you uncomfortable? Like, right, well, but exactly, and it's like, but again, I go back to our constructs of what it means to be a woman is done by media. Right? And done by media and society, and that is what we're told what we're supposed to look like, and anything outside of that box, it just doesn't compute with people. And I think for us to be out there and to have those stories told, we are saying that you can be a woman, you can be your own individual in a multitude of ways, and there is no wrong or right way. Like,
And just because we're dressing masculine doesn't mean that we want to be men.
thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so we've got two hands up. So you're first, and then you're next.
This is going back to like clothing. I was just wondering if you guys or like anybody in here has suggestions. I have very wide hips.
Oh dear God, join the club.
A lot of like men's clothes don't fit me right, and like shirts and stuff like this shirt that I'm wearing, I feel like it's really puffy up here, but it still doesn't really fit my hips down here. And so if anyone has suggestions,
Yeah,
of
Hot
stores,
Butch,
Maria,
Dapper Boy.
turn around. Maria wears amazing button downs always.
genderfreeworld.com.
There you go.
Now, if you want to shop on a budget, though, listen. I absolutely love representing and supporting queer people
It's
making
expensive,
queer,
though,
but
yeah.
it is very
It is
expensive. So
expensive.
if you need to shop on a budget, I think maybe a better solution would be is to go to your local thrift stores, buy clothes that are too big, and then take them to get tailored, because it's not that expensive to find a good tailor. And then once you find a good tailor, you're set. But then you can have really, really nice fitting clothes for much, much cheaper.
Yeah.
And if you can buy the expensive stuff or if you can buy the stuff that supports the community, listen, I'm wearing Nick Casey boots. Like I'm all about supporting the community 100%.
Yeah, it's expensive though.
But it
because
is
they-
expensive. So if you want to do it a little bit cheaper, or Men's Warehouse actually makes custom shirts now apparently for like $100 or I think
Hot
it's like $70.
Butch, if you guys don't know them, Haute Butch.
they're
They have amazing clothes. They do tailored stuff. It is on the pricey side, but it's really nice. Dapper Boy, BOI, has also done stuff, and they've got some amazing shoes as
Dapper
well.
Q has a
Maria.
whole.
One follow-up comment about tailoring. Because
Sure.
I gotta tell you, I thought for a million years getting something tailored was gonna cost me $100 and I was
It's not. Yeah, it's so not that.
now I'm interested, but when I was 25, I was not interested.
Yeah.
What I found out is that most cleaners have a tailor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's affordable.
Operations department.
Yeah.
And it does not, it costs $20, $30.
Right.
A shirt you pick up for 10 or 15 bucks in Goodwill,
Yeah.
you go and get it.
Well,
Yeah.
so Banana Republic, I have a big ass and wide hips, and I'll totally admit it, and it drives me up a fucking wall because I can't wear button downs, and it's like the bane of my existence. And I'm probably sharing way too much information, but it is. So Banana Republic is probably one of the few men's clothing lines that I've found personally that fits my body type. And I just live in it. But I also agree, 1+ to getting stuff tailored. Find something you like, and then you can find a good
I'm
tailor.
exactly the opposite. I can't wear Banana Republic
So,
at all.
but that's the thing is,
Brooks
like,
Brothers has
That's another
shirts
good
that
one, yeah.
fit really well, that fit around boobs better than
again,
most.
but we don't talk about these things. Like, that's what I want to see is someone being like, oh, fuck, I look like I'm swimming in this shirt, but I want to wear a suit to a wedding, and I look like I'm 12, and nothing fits.
Or the jacket that fits your shoulders, like buttons are bulging open because your shoulders
the boob
like
problem?
yeah, like yeah.
Oh, my favorite is like, so I love wearing sports bras. I only wear sports bras. Again, way too much information probably.
No.
Okay.
So we know the underwear that you
I
wear?
know. I just share. Listen. I'm an.
I
open
don't
book.
even own a regular bra, and I
I
don't
don't
think I
either.
have in my entire
No,
life.
but for my sister's wedding, I had to wear a white button down, and I have a white sports bra, or I forgot to pack the white sports bra, and my wife was like, "You're a fucking idiot," and she's like, "We'll go to Walmart, we'll buy a regular bra," and this is a horrible. It's a good story, and I had a panic attack, and it actually triggered a really interesting conversation between me and my wife. About my chest, and because she was like, I don't understand why you won't go just buy, like, you're being a fucking idiot. This is my wife. My wife's Italian. I love her to death, but she's like, just go buy a bra. And I'm like, instead, I bought 2 undershirts and doubled up and like sweated in May weather outdoors and I was just drenched. And like, she's like, why? We were driving home, and she's like, why did you do that to yourself? And it started a really interesting conversation about my association with my chest. Like, I have no desire to get top surgery, but I also have no, like, wearing a bra to me doesn't feel right. I love sports bras. I'll wear them till the cows come home, but that's a whole nother story then when it comes to white t-shirts, which I'm wearing right now, and that's why the zipper's so high.
And see, I find that interesting, and I think it goes back to your point of just because you present male
Doesn't necessarily mean that you want to be a
because
guy.
I'm the exact opposite. I love Victoria's Secret. Like, give me a good Victoria. You can laugh. No,
these are conversations to have.
Yeah, I love Victoria's Secret.
I assumed we're all
I have a
in
card. I buy
bras and
bras there. I have 4 new ones with me,
Right.
and I love them. And I wear Tomboy underwear. Yeah, Tomboy X underwear.
And I'm somewhere in the middle where I
Yeah.
have an internal struggle all the time about getting a reduction surgery. Not necessarily a full top surgery,
Yeah.
but a reduction so that I can wear the clothes that I want to wear.
Yeah, and see, for me,
Or I
yeah.
have a lot of actual conversations with, I don't like the word therapist because it has the word rape in it, so I use talking doctor. It's just my terminology. But I have lots of conversations with her about doing like low dose testosterone as well, so that my body shape will fit into my clothes. But then it's kind of a back and forth, right? Or am I doing it to fit into my clothing? Or am I doing it? I don't know. I have lots
But
of
that's
back
a
and
really
forth
good
issues about
conversation
it.
because it's like, again, it's mental image of like what
It
you
is.
want to
What you
look
wanna
like
look like.
versus your body. And it probably is a level of dysphoria. And I think all of us struggle with it is because you have this mental image of like, ooh, I want to look this way. And you're like, oh, my hips and my ass or my chest. And oh, the shirt's buttoning. Like, what do I do? And it's finding those clothing or finding that look and that image. It's really hard sometimes.
It is, and it goes back to discovering who you really are
Yes.
and what you're comfortable with, no matter what anybody else says or the shit that they put on you, because we may all look very similar, but you just heard, obviously, we're so different, especially in how we view ourselves. That's right. Now you know about our underwear. My wife would be so fucking embarrassed right now. Like, she'd be like, you did not talk about your underwear.
It's about
yes,
how we
hold on one second. We did have one.
Sorry.
So there is a Canadian clothing company that makes shirts from someone who is very small to someone who is very big, who, like, they figured out the bulging gap situation.
Oh my God, they're geniuses.
And it's called Parallel, and I can't spell it because it's French. But I will tweet it to Jess as soon as I can find it. But they seem to fix that. And I found out about that conversation from a very femme friend of mine who sometimes wants to wear button downs. And like her friend, our friend, runs their social media site. So she even tells me, do you know about these people? Like, they're Vancouver local. Like so, you know, that expensive shirt, you guys can buy it at American Mighty for cheaper. But
well, depending on the day. Depending on where the country goes.
What you just showed is, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But the other thing, two more real quick things. The other thing, and then you cried for a second, I was crying in the first episode. And the hero she was a camel and she wanted to be more femme, so they worked that out for her. And Raoul brought her to a group of women, and they were talking with themselves, and one of them was very not binary, but presenting and was like, oh, Caleb was this too. And
That's a
it was like literally, I just sat there and paused it and cried, and it was like, that was before you get to like the Jess episode and stuff, and it was like, but you also did mention the neck.
Yeah. Good one.
yeah.
But you touch upon the great point is a woman can look like this too. A person can look like this too. And
Exactly.
So I have a 5-year-old, and what my wife and I are trying to instill in her, well, A, don't be an asshole in life, like that is a must. But you can be any person you want to be. And we get a lot of gender questions right now. And like, that's just the age. Like, it's not anything that like she's like learning, it's just that age. And my wife always jokes, I can hear her yell in the other room as I'm like doing my kid's hair in the morning. And she's like, stop, get off your soapbox. But I'm trying to teach her that, like, well, why? You know, she's like, well, a girl has to have X or a boy has to have Y. And I'm like, but why? And she's like, I don't know why. And I'm like, okay, keep asking why. And this was what I'll say to all of you, keep asking why. So whenever someone says, no, it must be X, don't, like, there's no need to be negative. There's no need to, like, you know, pick a fight. It's more like, but why? We're all humans. And there's no textbook on how you should look, how you shouldn't look. And for me, that's why this kind of representation is super important to see on TV.
It shares the why.
It shares the why.
Yeah.
It shares that there are humans in every shape, size, and color, and all the stories are very, very important to tell.
So Jess and I talk now and then about our daughter, about our daughters. So I have a 4-year-old who's going to be 5 at the end of the month. And she knew that I was going away for, you're 6?
He's about to turn 6
Holy
next
shit.
month.
See, so Isabel was asking, she's like, Mommy, why are you going away for a week? And where I've gone away before, she was younger and didn't always put 2 and 2 together, but now that she really is like, you know, she's so brilliant. And she's like, why are you going away for a week? What are you doing? Because she knows it's not like my normal, you know, paying job. And I was trying to explain that, you know, I was going to be going to do some stuff and also speaking on a few different panels. She gets the video game panel. She gets the queer moms panel. Trying to explain butch representation to a 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old. How do you do that? And my wife is a therapist. I know you don't like that word, but she's a therapist.
Listen, people can use all the own terminology that they feel comfortable with.
But she's a therapist, and she sat her down and she was like, you know, Mommy is going to go have a conversation to talk about how some women look like Mommy and some women look like Mama. My wife is very feminine. She's got very long curly hair. And she said, you know, she's going to go talk about how it's okay to look however you feel and however you want to look. And she was like, okay, and went and played Legos. You know, like,
You know, real quick before I forget, I think that it's a lot about how we feel in our own bodies, but I think it's also important to talk about how we're perceived in the world. So I live in Florida, which means it's still legally allowed to be fired for being gay. So, for instance,
and I'm in California, and it's a bubble. We both are.
Right. So I purposely don't have a picture of myself on my LinkedIn profile because I will not get hired for jobs or not even I won't even get an interview because of how I look if I put a picture on my profile. So just remember that there's still, it was 26 states where you could be legally fired for being gay. I think that number's gone down in the last couple of years. I'm not sure what the new number is, but there's a large handful of states in the United States and populated states where it's you can still be fired for being gay. So you have to consider as well in this conversation, in it so much as is about us finding ourselves, it's also about the fact that just because we look this way now, that we get treated differently and we exist in the world differently. We have to carry ourselves differently. When I talk about like what ClexaCon means to me, what I didn't realize, I try to explain it like back pain, right? So if you have this like pain and then you kind of get used to it for a while and then you go to the doctor and they fix it and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. ClexaCon 1 was like that a little bit for me. I didn't realize how much I walked around fearful all the time. Living in the South, living in a place where maybe I'm not quite as safe, and you live with this like constant fear of looking over your shoulder and making sure that you're always in a safe space. And I didn't realize quite how much I did that until all of a sudden I didn't have to. And I was in this space where I could breathe for once, and I was like, this is what the world's supposed to feel like for like everyone else that doesn't.
Is anybody
look like
ever
you.
shocked that you share that? Because I had a conversation with a friend of mine about that, and they were like, "Yeah, but you're butch. If you're tough, and like that doesn't mean you're not scared."
Let me ask: how many of you do assessment quickly if you're safe or not in an area that identifies butch? Okay.
Wait, specifically for butch, because I've got 5 categories.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm saying if you
walk
you have
in,
5
every time
categories,
you go
that's
into a
awesome.
space, you check to see if you're safe or not.
As a butch?
I mean, you've got, so you're what? You're a 3-fer. I'm a 2-fer. Like, how many diversity boxes can you check?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and this is, my wife and I talk about this all the time, is I am a 100-footer. You can tell me from 100 feet away. There is no, like, if I said, oh, I'm straight, the room would probably fucking start laughing. But, that's the assumption, the assumptions we make. That's a story that I've yet to see, is like that fear, and you live with it constant. I wouldn't say it's a fear, it's just something in the back of your head. Am I safe in this situation? Is it safe for me to get out of the car and go into this store, in this area, in this location? I'm 5'6". Like, I can defend myself in maybe some sort of way. Like, I could make a sarcastic remark.
I'm like, throw something and run.
Right, exactly. My wife totally wears the pants in the relationship. She could defend me way better. But I'm just saying, like, and I think I love seeing the head nods because it does validate that these stories do happen, and we need to talk about them. We need to show them that this occurs in all locations, that you might have to make a snap decision. I shouldn't go into that mini mart. I shouldn't go out. I shouldn't get out of my car.
I shouldn't walk down that alley.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't
be afraid of the way those guys are looking
as
at me
women,
because I'm dressed like a guy.
All women experience that, I think, in our society right now.
Yeah.
I think it's just this extra compound, especially right now with the trans murder rate on the rise, because while we may not be trans, we could easily be misidentified as trans. That's how I feel, right? So in Florida, we've had like 3 trans murders this year or something crazy.
But we threaten masculinity, and that is the slight.
So let's get back, because I've seen some hands go up, and I
Yeah.
want to make sure we get. So the young lady in the back in the pink and the green jacket, you had your hand up, and then I think there was one here and one there.
I was just gonna bring up Vita. I can't really remember the circumstances, but I remember she was brutalized.
Yes.
Right, by some guy who felt threatened.
Yes, and I love, that's why I say support Vita. Vita is telling, like, it's one of the, like, top of my list of examples that is telling these stories, and also telling Latinx stories, which are really super important. And it's amazing to see that, yes, we're gonna, because there is that level of, and I hate to say, because, like, I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to, threaten someone's masculinity, even though it's very fragile. I get it. They're snowflakes. They crack very easily. Like, they have an ego. They need a stroke. Like, fine, whatever, fine, get it. But I'm not here to threaten someone else's existence. I'm existing in the world.
Right.
But I have to be aware that because of the narratives that are told in our society and how our society operates, my appearance, not even who I am, just my appearance, threatens someone else.
I actually think that that's the core. So when I was thinking about this panel and kind of like going through it in my brain, one of the things that I was thinking about is I think that that's the core of the reason why we don't get representation in mainstream media. Because it is super easy to digest for mainstream male patriarchal society two very hot women sleeping together, because then they're like, oh, well, I could just be a part of that.
You know what
right?
I'm going to say?
But,
you mean like Riverdale?
Yeah.
Straight white man's wet dream.
Yeah, straight. Yeah, right. But to see us, we're threatening to their women, and we're not sexually digested. Like they're not going to fantasize about that. So it's not fetishizable. Maybe I guess.
I don't
even
even think about that. It's just icky.
But when you're pitching mainstream broadcast cable TV shows, I think that one of the biggest reasons why we don't have rep in those spheres is because of that reason exactly. Because when I was thinking about this panel, I was like, well, why don't we have the rep? Was one of the things that I was thinking about, and I really think that that's what it comes down to. Is that specifically is that we are threatening and we're not sexy enough.
Well,
right?
it goes
Or
back to
things like
changing. We need to see representation in front of the camera, but where we really need to see representation
behind
is
the camera.
Behind the camera. And I will say this to everybody again and again and again: we are not in competition with each other. So when one of us gets to a spot, we raise each other up, because the more higher up we all go together, and when I say we all, I mean everybody under the queer umbrella, everybody under diversity umbrella, like we need to raise each other up and stop from stepping on each other, because then we will start to see those changes.
Absolutely. So we've got 10 minutes left, and I've seen some hands go up. So there were some hands over here, so that you guys, and then we'll come over here to the girl in the back corner. Okay. Whichever.
So you mentioned earlier, and I also can't remember the term for, bad role models doing things to your head. But it's sort of, there was a funny comment talking about like something else. They used the term welcome to the background radiation of my life. And it was all of this, it was talking about like digestible media and how, male power fantasies and what women find attractive. But yeah, walking through a space, sometimes I did not realize that I was doing a thing until my girlfriend at the time pointed it out to me. And she asked me, so why do you never sit with your back towards the door? Every time we go to the restaurant, you take this seat.
In the military, we call it like operational awareness. Yeah.
And you don't want to be blindsided.
There was talking about representation and things. There was a study that was done that was that compared poor societal image. They were talking about gay guys at the time and how it correlated with risk-taking behavior. And that, yes, there was bad health services and this and that and the other thing, and fuck Reagan. But one of the reasons that the HIV/AIDS outbreak was so bad was that gay men did not have a good sense of self-worth.
Internalized homophobia. I think I read the same article that you're talking about. Yeah.
Like they don't care about themselves because society has told them that
they're not supposed to be cared about.
So why should they bother taking care of themselves?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it goes back to the invisibility factor.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
It's
It's
the same thing.
I'm not supposed to be happy. I'm not supposed to be, and it's the way that we're portrayed in the media, right?
Hays code.
Hays code.
Hays code. I'm
So
not supposed to have a happy ending.
does anybody in this who raise a hand who knows what the Hays code is? Okay, a bunch of you. Good. I've been talking about it all weekend, and a whole bunch of other people I'm hoping as well have been talking about it all weekend. For those of you that don't know, just real quick, it was literally illegal in the United States to show an LGBT character having any type of a positive storyline or a happy ending from 1928, I believe, until it actually wasn't fully abolished until 1986. It was mostly gutted in 1968, but then it wasn't fully abolished until 1986. It was full on illegal to show a queer person having any type of positive storyline in the United States, and most people don't know that, but that's where a lot of that comes from, I think.
Yeah.
No, they weren't allowed to have a positive story. Yeah, they couldn't have a positive storyline.
So we'll go
Yeah.
yours, and then we'll come over that side.
So I was just wondering, I somehow have missed every single one of those shows.
You can take a snapshot of it after the panel if you want.
watching to do.
I took some notes, but
Awesome.
I haven't actually sat down and watched any of this.
Okay.
So I understand that there's representation there, but how many of those characters are in a relationship?
Good question.
Were you seeing them have intimacy with a partner
and any kind of, even like just a simple kiss. It's, you know, you're not gonna get scenes like Riverdale.
No.
If you stop by the LGBT fans deserve better booth, then you can get a passcode to get into our website for free that has a lot of that information. We're collecting all that data right now.
But
We're in the process of
I
collecting
would say,
all
why
of it.
not? Like, okay, so if we're not, and this is what I go back to my little soapbox, if we are not seeing it, and you brought up a great point, then I'm looking around a whole convention of creators. We need to create the content we want to see if we're not seeing it.
I also think that we need to show not just butch and super high femme people together.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of
Everybody watch it.
Fantastic.
I love them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You had a.
Hey everyone,
I'm sorry.
Brianna Dim, information science researcher and game scholar. So look for my articles on Google Scholar if you want. But you were talking about the Hays Code. There's also this framework which I think you all were talking to, which is called Visuality by Nicholas Mirzoff. And so it's this idea that there's this dominant visuality of like how people are allowed to be seen in the world.
Yep.
And this is a counter visuality to the dominant visuality of what a woman is supposed to look like. And so that's where you get all of that sort of pushback, is because the counter visuality threatens that dominant force that's meant to keep certain structures in place. And the work that's happening in conventions like this is really, really good at sort of uplifting people when it's all insane.
Yeah.
Getting this stuff like changing those visualities and making room for new visualities. I also, we're out of time, but
It's okay.
I also wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we got 4 more minutes.
If anyone's interested, I want to talk about butch identity being co-opted into straight characters in video games.
You should have come to our panel earlier. No, I think that's a good point as well. There's a young lady behind you. Sorry.
Just in terms of representation and uplifting our own communities, going back to your comment about the L word and Shane being the butchiest, I think it's really interesting because butchness doesn't really get treated in the L word very much at all.
No.
But the one episode in which it gets treated is when Max gets introduced, if my memory serves correctly.
And Max
Right,
couldn't
And then she calls her and Shane a butch, and she's outraged. You know, she's almost offended by that comment. And then later on, there's the scene where all the lesbians are talking about the word dyke. And it's just always fascinated me how one of our major representations of, you know, what it is to be lesbian in our culture is so dismissive of butchness.
I think we've all realized at this point, like 10 years after the fact, retrospectively, that the L word was some of the worst rep.
But I will stop you.
But at the time, it was unbelievable. It was way before its time. Like, so
It was made for straight people, but it was at the time.
At the time, you have to give it credit for what it was doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about the changes in our language between 15 years ago and now.
Yes.
Non-binary didn't exist. Asexual wasn't a word people were talking about.
I
And
would
what was
actually
the
argue bisexuality
ambisexual was one I heard
pansexuality.
today was that I had never heard before. I mean, that's a new term, right? So I think you have to think about how our languages change and how society has changed. So as much as the L word did wrong, retrospectively looking back at it,
Well,
at the time,
I'm
it
going
was
to give you a
unbelievable.
counterpoint to that too. How many people here have felt shame about calling themselves butch or a dyke or a lesbian? Like, I mean, I have
raise my hand.
I have fought with that for years. I still to this day where I absolutely am butch, but there is shame behind that for me in that word. And that's something that I deal with on a daily basis. So, you know, have I ever made fun of it in the past or things like that? I've been in that position. So while it was, you know, crappy to kind of see that, the representation was so important because back then we didn't have anything else that was really representing
But
us.
it goes back to the media. So
It does,
the
absolutely.
stereotypes and what we have seen say that there should be shame to that word. And there shouldn't. Like, it is, again, we come in all spectrums, shapes, sizes. So the flip side to all of this is, again, I go back to, and I'm just going to keep beating my drum, is like we create the content we need to see.
Yeah.
And if no one else is going to do it, then we need to do it. And we create that positive content in that world, in our world.
Yeah.
So that, you know what, 10 years from now, there isn't shame. Because there's so many characters and the next generation growing up is like, awesome, great. Like, I can look however I want to look. And it's not a shameful thing. It's not, oh, I shouldn't dress this way or I shouldn't be this way. And, you know, for me, it's, yes, I can like be stewing about it, I can be mad about it, but I'm like, or I can just talk my ass off to everybody and their uncle.
Right.
And hopefully that there's enough of us rallying together to create that content.
If you walk away from one thing from this panel today, it is that ask for the content you want to see and create that and support that
Yes.
content. Because it's not going to change unless you do. It really is about supporting it.
So speaking of support, I'm going to make a quick plug. If you guys don't know what the Visibility Fund is, it's all over your lanyard, by the way, and please stop by the booth. I'm on the board of directors. Visibility Fund is just that. We are trying to make things visible in this world, so it is micro grants for queer creators. The grant opened up this week. We are awarding small micro grants to writers, to producers, to directors, anything that you need to help make your content, we are here to fund it. So as I said, like my rallying cry, my soapbox, we are putting our money where our mouth is. So if you aren't a creator and you want to donate, go to the booth, donate. $1 goes a long way. $2 go a long way. If you can't donate, and I understand that, tell other people.
Yeah, put it on social media, tweet.
Because we need to be
nothing.
visible.
Yeah.
That's the long and the short of it.
Yeah.
So anything that we can do as a community to support that and push that forward, I'm all for it. And I want to make sure that you guys get to make that content.
Thank you guys so much for coming today. We really appreciate it. Thank you.